Welcome to r/Best of Redditor Updates, where OP's friend nearly murders him with his car and then sues him for it. Our next Reddit post comes from r/Legal Advice. Early in November, me and my friend Aaron went to pick up car parts that he had bought on eBay. We had to go through some back roads to get to the property, and we picked it up and all was well. It had been raining for part of the day, but it really picked up when we were loading parts. Later, we got to a causeway we'd passed only an hour before, but it was now covered in what looked like half a meter of water, and we stopped. I'd been navigating, and I knew that we could back up and take another, much longer route, even though the highway was just a bit on the other side of the causeway. There was no way I'd go through the water the way it was looking, because I'd been caught on a causeway 20 years ago in less water than this, and I had my car pushed off into the river, and I didn't want to risk it. I didn't lose the car, but it's one of the scariest moments of my life. I said that we had to turn back and we could take a different road 10 kilometers around, but that would take us via a bridge over the same river. Aaron decided to push on and started moving, and I panicked and got straight out of the car. It was far more water than what I went through when I nearly lost my car and life before. I got out of the car well before Aaron hit the water, though, so I didn't let water in the car, by the way. Aaron didn't even get halfway across, and the water pushed his car off the side, rolled it completely over, and it ended upright on the bank 50 meters downstream. He was extremely lucky not to drown, and I ran down and helped him out. Immediately, he was aggressive and combative because he said with my weight in the car, he'd have made it across. Admittedly, I am 130 kilograms, but his car is a 1650 kilogram Commodore wagon with a couple hundred kilograms of eBay parts in the back. So it's not like I'd have made much of a difference. We phoned for help, and the river went down within an hour and made it across the causeway by foot. We haven't spoken since, and he's avoided me in places we usually go. But on Friday, I received a letter from a lawyer I know is real in our town, but it sounds like it was written by my friend. The letter is asking for $50,000 for the car and personal damages because I made the car unsafe by getting out. It was a 1997 Commodore, maybe worth $1,500 on a good day. Someone reassure me. It's not up to me to sit in someone's car when they're doing something dumb, is it? And from what I can gather, this took place in Australia. Then 2 weeks later, OP posted an update. I went to a lawyer my parents had used a few years ago, and they recommended. She took one look at the letter from my friend Aaron's lawyers and said that she has concerns about it and she'd respond. She contacted Aaron's lawyer, and my lawyer mailed me to tell me that Aaron's lawyers aren't his lawyers at all, but to contact her if I heard more. Otherwise, no need for more action. Aaron had apparently faked the letter and admitted as much to me yesterday when he finally decided to talk to me. He wants me to retract my complaint to his lawyers about him using their letterhead. I hadn't complained to them myself, so I did the time-honored thing and told him to go pound sand. But it might have rhymed with go eat a bag of dicks. Okay, we've got a string of idiocy here. First, fighting Mother Nature. Second, impersonating a lawyer. Third, trying to sue a friend for more than 10 times the value of the vehicle. Okay, Aaron's a real doofus here, isn't he? You're better off without him, OP, because not only is he a bad friend, he's literally life-threateningly stupid. Our next Reddit post comes from r/Legal Advice. So I moved into a new neighborhood in August. Shortly after I moved in, flyers started appearing on utility poles, etc., alerting the residents that a child sexual predator had moved into the neighborhood. The flyer contains a cropped screenshot of the person from the sex offender registry who they're mistaking for me. We do share a name, but that's it. My name is not uncommon. I'm not Joe Smith, but I'm not Eusebius Cadmeremius either. Either way, the person posting these is definitely aware of the fact that it's not me, as they cropped the offender's mugshot out of the screenshot and replaced it with a picture from my LinkedIn profile. I've looked up the actual predator on the sex offenders registry, and he's a fat white guy in his 60s. I'm an average build mixed dude who looks black in my 30s. And to be clear, while there is no such thing as a minor sex crime, this guy is on the registry for forcible R word of a child under 13 or something along those lines. I spoke to the police as soon as I found out about the flyers via my wife, which must have been a fun surprise for her to see when she was walking home from the train. They basically said, "That sucks, but how do you expect us to find out who's putting them up?" I was confronted by a neighbor yesterday. Luckily, I bookmarked the page of the actual predator on my phone, and the guy who confronted me was level-headed enough to immediately apologize. He knew who was putting the flyers up, gave me the guy's name, and described him as kind of a conspiracy nut. Great. The abundant misspellings and capitalization for emphasis on the flyer should have tipped me off. Anyway, I have no interest in confronting this guy myself because there's a very low chance of the interaction ending in any manner that involves all of his teeth remaining in his head. I called the police again, and this time their take on it is more or less, well, being wrong isn't a crime. Just keep taking the flyers down when you see them and try to ignore it. This was last night. Ignoring this isn't an option. I'm planning on going to the police department in person today when I get back from work. Has a crime been committed here, or is my only remedy going to be civil courts? I feel like this is way beyond the standard type of libel that might mess with a person's ability to get a job or something, as there's a non-zero chance that this kind of BS could lead to a vigilante type trying something. Then, 3 days later, OP posted an update. On Friday night, I got in touch with Joe, the guy who had confronted me, and backed down when I showed him the page of the actual sex offender. Turns out, Joe is on the co-op board of the building where Steve lives, Steve being the guy who printed out the flyers. Steve has a sister, Anne, who comes around his apartment pretty often. Joe ran into Anne on Friday afternoon and told her about the situation. Joe asked me if I'd be willing to grab a cup of coffee with the two of them before getting the police involved. I agreed to this, and we met up on Sunday afternoon. So, as it turns out, Steve is actually pretty sick. Well beyond anything along the lines of standard racist conspiracy theory type. In fact, racism isn't a part of it at all. He believed that I had ties to the whole Epstein situation, which to him would make it easy enough for me to change my appearance, and promised me that he's nothing like this when his meds are working, and apparently they've been less than effective of late. She'd brought this up to someone involved in his treatment, and they'd planned to address it. But she didn't realize just how bad things had become. I have a close family member who has an illness that's resulted in a few episodes of psychosis. He's one of the kindest, most thoughtful people I know 99% of the time. But it's been physically dangerous to be around him during his psychotic breaks, so I feel for them. Anyway, Steve is currently receiving inpatient treatment to get back on the right track, and will be attending a partial hospitalization program after his release to make sure his meds remain effective. Joe wrote a letter about the situation, a copy of which is going to be delivered to each resident of his building. He's also reached out to members of the co-op boards that he knows in a couple of other buildings on the block, and they've agreed to do the same. Anne is going to post copies in the same location Steve had been putting them up, and slide copies under the doors of the single-family houses on my side of the block. She's genuinely incredibly apologetic, and I don't see any reason to push the issue with law enforcement or in courts, provided Steve is getting adequate treatment so something like this doesn't happen again. So yeah, all things considered, while this isn't necessarily a happy ending, I'm glad the guy is getting the help he needs, and that there are people who are willing to step up and help with clearing my name. All in all, the resolution has made a greater impression on me than the issue that necessitated its development, and I feel like I picked a pretty good block to live on. Yeah, no kidding, Joe is a total bro. It's so refreshing to see someone, when they're confronted with logic, actually be like, oh, I'm wrong, my bad, and then just completely change their opinion. Also, when the cops were saying, it's not illegal to put up fake flyers, I wonder what would happen if you went to that cop's neighborhood and put up, "This cop is a sexual predator," all over their telephone poles. You think then that person would be arrested, or the cop would say, well, nothing I can do? Our next Reddit post comes from rSlash Am I the Butthole. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and my 17-year-old male cousin is deaf and uses sign language. He's planning on going to university in September and is in the process of applying for student loans. My aunt and uncle are helping him with the forms and stuff, but insisting he makes the phone calls himself so he can be independent. For this, he uses a video relay service where he will have a sign language interpreter on video calls signing to him and speaking verbally to whoever on the phone. I was at their house and I walked into the room to see him on video chat with my ex-girlfriend, who's 26, whom I broke up with way back in 2013. I loved this girl and I was determined to marry her until I saw some messages on her phone that indicated she was being unfaithful. The betrayal was incredibly traumatizing to me, and I've never brought myself to date since. I lost it. I marched over there and screamed into the camera that she had some nerve showing her face in my family again after everything she did. I was furious at her sheer nerve to start flirting with my cousin of all people, and wondering why the hell she wasn't done torturing me 7 years later. I turned on my cousin, who was angrily signing at me. I don't sign. Before my aunt came in asking what the hell was going on. I asked him what he was playing at, and he said he was trying to sort something out with student finance. I guess in the 7 to 8 years since we broke up, my ex has learned to sign and gotten a job as an interpreter. But I still think it's inappropriate for her to be assisting my cousin. I asked him why he would accept her help, and he said he didn't remember who she was, and calls are randomly assigned. I couldn't believe he forgot who she was, and I'm certain she was flirting to get at me. My aunt told me to leave and not come back until I calmed down and apologize. I think that my reaction, while emotionally driven, was justified. Am I the butthole? Okay, I don't know what the update's gonna say, but clearly OP is the butthole here. What exactly did the cousin do wrong? That he called an anonymous service and just happened to coincidentally get paired up by one of OP's exes? OP is obsessed with himself and trying to make this issue that has nothing to do with him about himself. Also, according to the math, this kid was 9 years old when OP broke up with his girlfriend, so I do kind of believe him when he says he doesn't remember her. When I was 9, the only thing I cared about was Pokemon. Then the next day, OP posted an update. Okay, you guys all seem pretty convinced that I'm the butthole. I get it. Women and disabled people are always in the right. You'll be happy to hear that some of my family members agree with you. 1. First of all, my brother and his wife took this opportunity to smugly inform me that they've been badgering me to get help for years, and pointed out that I shouldn't fly off the handle at someone who wronged me when I was a teenager. 2. My mom thinks I was quite justified, and she would have done the same thing. 3. My aunt and uncle have contacted the video relay company to personally apologize on my behalf, in case the experience distressed my ex at all, and assured them that I would not be allowed in the room while my cousin was on the phone again. My stepdad, who wasn't around when all this went down, has arranged for me to have anger management without my say-so, but I'll go, I guess. He says it's highly unlikely that my ex and cousin recognized one another at all, as he was 10 when we broke up, and he's aged considerably since she last saw him. I suppose on some level there's some truth in all that, and maybe I didn't think it through, as you've pointed out. But I still think my anger upon seeing her was justified. She just seemed far happier than she deserves with a new haircut and new job. I always expected her to be working at McDonald's with a shiftless waste man while I moved up and got my PhD and stuff. Guess you can't have everything in life. Wow, OP's even more of a butthole than I thought he was. OP, move on, dude. You were a teenager and your high school girlfriend had some sexy text with another guy? Okay, like it stings, sure, but this isn't a life-ending event, and you're clearly still hung up on her all these years later. Though I guess you have justification that your mommy has your back. Our next Reddit post is from r/legal advice. My father passed away about 2 months ago from natural causes and left everything he owned to me and my sister. His estate is worth over $5 million, and almost half of that is in liquid assets. His estate is still being split up now, but that isn't the issue here. About a week ago, a woman that we'll call Stupid B-Word contacted my father's estate attorney claiming that she had a secret child with him and demanded that he get a third of the estate. I've never met this woman or even knew she existed until then, but apparently she's the daughter of someone my dad went to high school with, so it isn't out of the question at first. But here's the thing. My dad was diagnosed with testicular cancer 15 years ago and had both of his testicles removed. So unless this kid is at least 14 years old, then it's impossible it's his. So entertaining the thought, I met with stupid B-word, and I was surprised to find out this secret child is 9 years old and looks nothing like my father. During this meeting, she demanded her child's share of my dad's estate and wants 9 years of child support in cash. She claimed that she would sue if he wasn't added into the will. My dad's estate lawyer said that if the kid passed a DNA test, he would add the kid to the will, but the mother refused. She claims she has a secret letter from my father acknowledging this kid as his own, but refused to provide it. The meeting ended with my father's estate lawyer telling her to pretty much get out until she's ready to do a DNA test, and her claiming that she would see us in court. It's pretty obvious that this is not my dad's kid, but this stupid B-word is still trying to take from us. My question is, what can I do to make her go away? What kind of legal action can I take to make her disappear from my life? If she does try to take action against me and my sister, what can I do to make sure this B-word gets what she deserves? Then, 4 days later, OP posted an update. So after my lawyer sent her a cease and desist, the text telling her to stop contacting me, she began to blow my phone up with voicemails and texts. I saved them all, obviously, and forwarded them to my father's attorney. The day after I made my first post, my attorney had a letter sent to stupid B-word. Basically, the letter just said, do a DNA test or pound sand. While this was going on, my sister tracked down stupid B-word's parents and got into contact with them. It turns out that stupid B-word has not had contact with her parents in multiple years, but that's not the important part. Apparently, this is not the first time she's done this. Apparently, she pulled the same stunt with another man when this kid was born 9 years ago and got paid off to leave him alone. I also forwarded this information to my attorney. So fast forward to this morning when I get a call from my attorney. Stupid B-word is retracting her statements, claiming she misunderstood the situation and no longer believes her son is my father's kid. So yeah, no big dramatic ending, sadly, but I guess this is over. The truly shocking thing in this story isn't that this woman is trying the scam. I mean, it's a pretty normal scam, all things considered. What's shocking is that person 9 years ago didn't think to do a DNA test. He just took the lady's word for it and just forked over the money? Huh? That was r/Bestof Redditor updates. And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.